But let's talk a little bit about last season first, especially at the end here with your decision to send Wolowitz into space. We achieved liftoff. He's in space. How long is he going to be in space? Are we going to see him in space for quite some time?
We will be seeing Wolowitz in space for at least a couple of episodes.
Okay.
He's up there and he's not happy.
I can't imagine he would do too well in space, though.
He has a hard enough time, I think, sort of negotiating Earth. And he's not well equipped for being in space, absolutely not. He would do about the same as we would in space.
Well, the other big thing with Wolowitz was the marriage.
He is married to Bernadette, absolutely.
He is married. I mean, how is that going to change the dynamic of the group, do you think? You have a lot of things you can play with all the characters in that.
I think it'll definitely have an impact on Cooper Polly, because his best friend, who also happens to be in space and is now married, and will be less available to him. So, first and foremost, I think he's the guy that this will affect.
How will marriage actually change Howard, do you think? What's the biggest thing in his personality that's going to change?
He needs to figure out, starting with where are they going to live, with his mom or not.
You have to put him with the mom, right?
I don't know how Bernadette feels about that. This may be a big discussion in the upcoming episodes of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, when we talk about it and we imagine Bernadette, we don't imagine her being particularly happy about that kind of living arrangement.
Well, I love how, speaking of Howard's mother, we did get a little Easter egg in the finale with the satellite photo. I don't know if you guys noticed.
You can. Did anyone see Howard's mother? Actually, yes.
It was all in pink, right?
She was. She was in a lot of pink. She had a pink hat on. She is. We are very happy that Wolowitz's mother is visible from space.
We had to tell the special effects people. They're like, well, how big? I don't know, like a 400-pound pig blob should cover it.
The problem is that if you listen to how Wolowitz has described her, if you work backwards from the things that he's said, she would weigh in at about 1,200 pounds.
She's basically a manatee.
That's right. So we had to say, all right, well, she's probably a big woman. So
is that the most we're going to see of her?
It might be. It might be the most we ever see.
We see the whole thing.
It's interesting because the actress who does the voice, if you actually saw her, you would be very happy with how she looked.
She's not gigantic.
No, she's not a big woman. No. She's a tiny woman who lives in Los Angeles and doesn't drive.
She's the best.
She's the best. She came in one day and she said, "Oh, I have the funniest story to tell you. I'm sitting in a restaurant with my friend and we're just talking. Well, someone comes up to me and says, 'Are you the woman who plays the mother on the big?' I don't know how they recognized me."
She is great though. You got to show her on the show at some time. I think the actual actress. So maybe it's a bit.
We don't. And just because you say we do doesn't mean we have to.
Well, now you guys broke some news today too that Raj will be getting a love interest.
I think love interest is a strong word.
It's a strong word. I think that he will be filling the hole that was created by his best friend's marriage in his life, and I think not necessarily. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
It's a woman.
I think we'll leave it at that. That's good enough.
You can't make it into an alcoholic. He's got to be drunk to talk to women. So.
And he still has his yet to be named dog.
Oh, he has his dog. His dog who lives with him. He has a Yorkshire.
Yes.
A Yorkie.
Can you talk a little about really?
No, absolutely not. Move on. Next. We will not discuss that. You know that. We talked about it.
I know. I mean, but the evolution of these characters, I mean, these characters that we started with season one, I mean, especially Sheldon too, because he's really kind of found his emotional core now. I mean, there's signs of affection with Sheldon and Amy. I mean, are you constantly surprised by the growth that these characters have really represented? I mean, people are coupling up now. We have a wedding. I mean, these are not the same guys.
We never went into it with a grand plan. I think it's amazing how far all of them have come. Wolowitz was this sex hound in seasons 1 and 2, and of all the people, he's the one that got married and ended up going to space. And Sheldon now has a girlfriend. I think it's great. I mean, you can say Sheldon has a girlfriend, but also it's taken 2 years, and all they've done is hold hands. So.
for 30 seconds.
It's baby steps.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that characters, like people, don't particularly want to change. So you keep putting them in situations, but if you put them in a situation that forces them to change, it creates conflict, and from there you get comedy.
But as Chuck pointed out at the panel earlier, that moment, the last scene of the last episode of the season, when all the characters watching Wallets go up hold hands, I think is one of our favorite things we've ever done. I can't watch it without tearing up, and Kaylee couldn't make it through the scene without crying. PAs read the script and were crying while they were making copies of the script. So that really means a lot to us, to be able to achieve moments like that in what's supposed to just be a comedy.
Yeah. The other relationship, the core relationship too, is Leonard and Penny. And you guys, you put fans through the ringer a little bit, especially with this proposal. Can you kind of talk about where you see them going? I mean, is it kind of wrong place, wrong time for them right now?
I always say that they met each other at the wrong time in their respective lives. That when they met each other, they were at very different places, and it makes it very complicated. So it's kind of, as they say on Facebook, it's complicated.
Are you ready for that relationship, though? I mean, if it happens, is it
between me and Bill?
I know you're ready for that relationship.
Oh my God, yes.
Because fans are clamoring for that.
I think the thing, one of the great things about the way we do Big Bang Theory, one of the sort of, and it's working without a net, is that we don't make big arc plans. Mm-hmm. And the discovery is if you make big plans, if you say, by this episode they're going to be this, and by this episode they're going to be that, then along the way that you can't listen to the characters and discover, hey, this is, it'd be more fun to do this story based on what we just did. So with Leonard and Penny, we try to listen to the characters and we try to say, well, based on that, how are they feeling, and then what would they do next? And so the cool thing about it is that we're only about 6 months ahead of you in knowing what Leonard and Penny are going to do. And actually right now, less, about 3 months ahead.
If you had asked us in March, are Wallowitz and Bernadette actually going to get married? And is he really going into space? Bill and I would have looked at each other and said, we think so? Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's kind of how we've been doing it for 5 years.
Because then you get to the point where if you say, what's the better story? Is the better story that he goes, or the better story that he doesn't go? And we came to the point, well, okay, we've got a really good story if he goes. But we didn't rule out if there had been a really good story about him not going, we wouldn't have avoided that because we made some kind of master plan.
How long have you guys been talking about sending a character into space?
Not long. It started at the...
Chuck started it. He was the one who thought it would be...
Chuck started it.
We were probably the only show who could make something like that happen.
And then there was an odd coincidence that I had met about 3 weeks before. I had met some people from NASA, and so Chuck said, "I have this idea," and then I said, "Well, you know what? I met these people at NASA, and I bet they could help us do that." And so we've actually had amazing help from NASA and they sent astronauts and they sent technical advisors and all of that, and they're great, and they send people to space. Yay, NASA.
And we actually did it. I'm shocked we sent Wallowitz to space. I didn't think it was going to happen.
That's true, you did.
And you had a real life astronaut with you too, so everything.
Yeah, Mike Massimino,
yep.
who flew 2 space shuttle missions, was there.
So he gave some sort of technical guidance for you guys, so everything
technical
is...
guidance and just guidance and as to what it's like to be a human being who went with a family and a wife and kids who went to space and then came back and what that experience was like. He's a funny, smart guy, and we've leaned on him a lot for this storyline.
Yeah. You guys also last season had 2 huge guest stars, well, a lot of huge guest stars, but the 2 big ones with Leonard Nimoy and with Stephen Hawking. I'd like to kind of hear the story from you guys of how you wooed Leonard Nimoy out of retirement for just his voice acting.
How did we? I mean, this was your
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how it went down. We had come up with this story of Sheldon and Penny giving Sheldon the transporter toy, and he breaks Leonard's and switches them, and that the doll.
Did that start with the People's Choice thing, or was that a different?
No, I think it was separate. But we had the idea. We knew we were going to be playing around with this Spock doll, and I think I had said, "How do you think we could actually get Leonard Nimoy to be the voice of Spock to do the doll?" And so we started with that, and then we went to him and his people and asked if that's something he might be interested in.
Because he's retired from on-screen performing and didn't want to. And then, what the discussion was if it was a voiceover, and then we offered him. We said we could pre-record it, or you could come do it live when we shoot the show in front of our audience, and he did. And
but I think Bill and I are both just giant nerds who grew up going to Star Trek conventions. So underneath it all was us just wanting to meet Leonard Nimoy.
And you did, and it was
we did.
Yeah. And how about Professor Hawking too? Getting him involved.
That's surreal.
That was very, very surreal. We'd approached him a couple of years ago, and we'd gotten a message back that he was too ill and he wasn't traveling at that point. And then he subsequently got better, and we heard from TV Guide Canada that they had done an interview with him and asked him if he would ever do The Big Bang Theory, and he said that he would if they asked. So then we set about asking, which was actually very hard because it was tricky to find somebody who could get to him, who was sort of in his inner circle. And once we did, the answer came back that he would do it, and then it was all based on whether or not he would actually make the trip to California, whether he was well enough. And we shot his scene at Caltech in Pasadena because we didn't know if he was going to be well enough to come to the stage. And then after we shot it, he said he'd like to come watch a run-through.
It's like, well, you could have done that, we could have shot it here. And then that was the morning, so we didn't know he was coming to our run-through until that morning. And we were writing a script, and then I turned white and looked at Bill and said, Simon has to do his Stephen Hawking impression in front of Stephen Hawking. Is this going to be okay? Because this had nothing to do with what we shot. So I was nervous about this, so I ran back to my office, and you can't exactly get Stephen Hawking on the phone. So we called Caltech, and we had met a few days before during the shoot. We met this guy. He's a famous physicist, Kip Thorne, who's good friends with Stephen. And we got Kip on the phone, who was going to be attending our run-through with Stephen. And he picked up the phone. I said, hey, this is Steve from Big Bang Theory. We met the other night. And he said, hi, Steve, hang on one second. I'm in the room with Professor Hawking, and he's in the middle of answering a question. I'll get to you in a second. And then I could hear, I heard Stephen Hawking talking, and then I realized, okay, I'm going to have to explain the situation. And Stephen Hawking is going to be listening to me on the speakerphone while I do it. So I said, look, one of the actors has to do an impression of Stephen. I know you guys are going to be here. We don't want to offend anybody. Is this going to be okay? And Kip said, well, is it in good taste? As much as any impression of Stephen Hawking can be, I suppose it's in good taste. And he said, Stephen has a great sense of humor. I'm sure it'll be fine. I assured Simon, because Simon was nervous about it too, and I told Simon, everyone says this is going to be okay. And it was a surreal moment. It was on page 3, I still remember. We were sitting there, and Stephen Hawking was 3 feet away from Simon, and Simon had to do that crazy impression. And he finished it, and he just looked at Stephen, and Simon went like that to Stephen, and Stephen had a big smile. It was amazing. I'll never forget it.
That's awesome. So how do you top that? How do you top Hawking and Nimoy? I mean, when you guys have guest stars and guest appearances, do you actively pursue them? Is it through the grapevine, like these situations that you hear people want to be on the show?
You know, it's happened in a lot of different ways. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the head of the Hayden Planetarium, sent Hayden Planetarium fan? Oh, okay. All planetariums or just Hayden? He sent an email with a comment from his website that somebody had posted saying you should be on The Big Bang Theory, and he sent it along. And it sounds like, I don't know if he was technically asking, but this was just on my website. I thought you might be interested on this comment where somebody said I should be on your show. So there, you know, we've had we had a Nobel laureate ask if he could be on the show, George Smoot. We've actually had a number of Nobel laureates come visit us. We feel we hold the record for most Nobel laureates who've come to tapings of a sitcom at 3, I think. And we're the only sitcom that was ever mentioned in a Nobel acceptance lecture. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
The Nobel Prize on that was won 2 years ago, and graphene was the issue, and we had done graphene on the show. And
I'm already bored with what you're saying.
I'm not. It had a great funny ending. I'm not telling you.
Continue if you want. All right.
No, please, more about graphene.
As comic and as sci-fi fans yourself, who are your dream guest stars to have?
Who's left?
Right.
Who have we not had?
William Shatner.
Sure.
You know, and it was the thing about him is that because he did a sitcom that aired right in the time slot right after ours, so there was for a while there was this reality problem of you know, because he was on that show right afterwards. I don't know. We know him. We met him through.
I'm not kidding. Who? I would have to stop and think. Who would be?
Patrick Stewart.
That'd be great.
That's it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, you know, we've worked our way slowly through the Star Trek cast.
It's really all about me and Bill getting to meet people we're fans of. I think that's why Bill created the show.
It works well in their universe, so you can put them in the comics shop. You put them on
you know, it's
Twitter,
really
like-
Will Wheaton is very fun for us because we done because
We love Will.
but that was when we were talking about initially talking about Sheldon.
Counting cards.
Counting cards, and we knew it wasn't going to be poker, it was going to be something like Magic the Gathering, and we were sort of referencing an old movie. We're sort of referencing The Cincinnati Kid, where you're talking about the guy who goes up against the card sharp, and so you know we originally were creating a character, and then Steve said, you know, Will Wheaton actually lives in Pasadena, and is one of these guys and hangs out at gaming stores and all of that. And so we said, all right, let's do Will Wheaton. And we called and talked to Will, and he was really hesitant about playing himself and all the Star Trek references. And when you go and play yourself, there's the fear that it's going to be campy and it's going to be sort of career-ending-ish kind of thing. And finally convinced him to do it. And then as we started,
I mean, actually, he was a true fan of the show. He was just a little nervous about playing a version of himself.
Right.
Under any other circumstances, he was excited about it.
and then we started writing it, and we realized, and I think Chuck pitched an ending where he was just an ass. And so then I had to call Will back up and say, listen, so not only are you playing yourself, but what's the age here? So not only are you playing yourself, you're a giant dick. And Will said,
Which is actually interesting because if you ever go follow Will or go to his website, one of his catchphrases is "Don't be a dick," and all we did was make him one. On the show.
but actually he was very happy when he turned evil. So, but we were just talking about another story with Will, so that's a possibility.
So maybe.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're big fans of you know, all the Star Trek guys and people like that, and but you know, we certainly have had a lot.
Yeah. Well, so you've been to the North Pole. You're now going to be in space.
Yes.
What's the next crazy destination? Underwater?
I don't know what you got.
I don't know.
I mean, what still excites you guys about writing for these characters, writing for
Their relationships and watching them grow as people,
Yeah.
and moments like Sheldon taking Amy's hand and Wallace getting married, and we want and need to stay true to the characters, but it's also nice to watch them grow incrementally and interact in different ways, and that's what keeps me so interested and in love with the show.
one wedding down, maybe some more to go? Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much.
We had a lovely time.
Thank you.
Outside with all of you.
Be sure to pick up the issue.
But you know, the,
Thanks, guys.
It has two covers. Look, it has this one, and then it has this one. Ooh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Thank you.